Hi, everybody. My name's Timmy. I'm an addict alcoholic. I'm going to give the group a few minutes for some people to show up here, and then we'll kind of get on with my share. You sharing that, people? All right, good. All right. So, again, my name is Timmy. I'm an addict alcoholic. Today, I have 672 days clean and sober. That's 1 day north of 22 months. 22 months ago, my life was a bit different. I was living in a baseball dugout, a U-Haul van, my mama's front porch, anywhere I could find to sleep, and I didn't have a penny to my name. When I first came out here 22 months ago, I would sit down every morning for 9 months with this guy, my house manager, and every morning he would ask me two questions. How much freedom do you want, and how far are you willing to go for that freedom? The question seemed ridiculous for a few months, and then I started to think about it. I started to get more involved in the program, and my life started to change, and the question started to make sense. I wanted a lot of freedom, but what was I willing to do for that freedom? For dope, man, I'd walk through a blizzard. For dope, I'd steal from my family. For dope, I would rob a Walmart. For dope, I'd do anything. What am I willing to do to stay clean and sober? How far am I willing to go? And it took me 22 months to find the answer to that question. But I found the answer to that question, and I'm willing to do anything. I'm willing to wait in a blizzard at a bus stop to get to a meeting. I'm willing to be honest about everything that I've done to get to this point in my life. Anything. Honesty is a huge part of my story. When I share my stories, whether it's Alcoholics Anonymous or a high school or whether my family is there, I always think about what I'm going to say. I want to respect the group that I'm in, and I don't want to hurt others. I don't want to embarrass my family. I don't want to embarrass myself. And that, I can justify 1,000 different ways why I sharing my story and being honest would hurt my family. But the truth is that it's only hurting me. And I'm okay with that. My old man was a junkie. This guy chose heroin and a life of jail over his wife and his children. He would have rather spent his life in jail, living on the streets, than caring for his family. A real piece of dirt. And growing up knowing that it was rough. There's a couple of things about that story. Number one, I'm a junkie. I got a million different stories, and I got a million different ways to tell the same story. I never knew that cat. My old man's sitting at home right now watching this video. My old man's a great dude. My old man gave me every opportunity to better my life. He has no biological attachment to me at all. You would have a difficult time convincing him of that. He has never treated me any different. And like I said, gave me every opportunity to better myself. As far as stepdads go, and that's the first time that's actually came out of my mouth. He was a shining example of a human. My old man, like I said, was a terrible individual. And I went with that story for a really long time. Woe is me. My old man was a junkie. My old man was in and out of jail. My life was falling apart because this guy didn't care about me. And like I said, I didn't know him. And everything I just said about that guy, not caring about his family, choosing drugs and alcohol and jail over his family, that's all true about me. I turned into that guy. I am the definition of a deadbeat father, a poor son, and I've just been an awful human to everybody around me. I literally destroyed everything that I touched, and it took a program of recovery for me to realize that. When that guy eventually died, his addiction took his life. And on the day he died, we got a phone call, and me and my mother went down to a funeral home. And that would be the first time I'd seen him in 35 years or more. And we were the only ones there. Nobody else came. And it didn't dawn on me then that was the direction that my life was going. I was going to be in a funeral home somewhere, and my son or daughter that I never met, never cared about, never offered any assistance to, were going to be the only ones showing up to pick up my dirty socks and my wallet with my expired driver's license. That's all he had of value. He had burnt every bridge. And seeing that, and in my addiction, it wasn't enough to keep me clean and sober. It wasn't enough for me to want to change my life. It made me think about it, but it wasn't enough. Well, I'm a fucking junkie. My brother shared the same father. My brother was also a drug addict and an alcoholic, though he was young. He was an angry kid, but he was my brother. We ran the streets together. We snuck out of the house together. He sold me my first fake sack of dope. He died when we were about 16 years old. And that single event, I used as a tool to get things that I wanted. From my mom and my dad and my grandparents and all the people around me. I used that as a tool. Look at me, my brother died. And they did. They gave me everything that I asked for. And I spit in their face and pissed it all away. And never once did I think about, wow, how shitty was it for my mom to lose her son, or my dad to lose his son. It was all about me. And I never, until recently, put much thought into how much that hurt everybody else. After he died, I made a decision once I graduated high school that I was going to change my surrounding and kind of get away from the life that I was in. Mostly LSD and mushrooms and hocus pocus and all those fun things. I joined the military, and I didn't last long. I was in the Navy for roughly 3 years, smoking and drinking my naval career away. I went to a few overseas countries to do a little bit of we'll say I was in a war zone, and the whole time I was smoking and drinking and doing all the dope I could find, and eventually they found out. That didn't go well. Fortunately for me, I've got a mouthpiece on me, and I was able to talk my way into an honorable discharge. A difficult thing to do, but I did it. I made them feel sorry for me once again. I'm good at that. Upon my discharge from the military, I went back home, and I did another thing. I'm going to change my surroundings again. So I decided I was going to get married to my high school sweetheart. She was an amazing woman, and I loved her then, and I love her now. And but my alcoholism at that time didn't allow me to have any kind of meaningful relationship with myself, let alone a wife. We moved off to Alaska, and we were going to go change the world together and be happy. And I'm a fucking junkie, and that didn't work out. I came back home to Seattle for a little while, did what I could, had some odd jobs here and there, always getting fired or quitting due to my drug addiction. I could clean up real nice for a couple of days, go in and prove myself, and then piss it all away easily in a couple of days or a month, and have nothing. I eventually, again, I tried to change my surrounding. So I answered an ad online, and I was going to go back to Alaska, and I was going to go fishing and get away from drugs and alcohol. I'm a junkie, so that didn't work out. I spent a lot of years up there doing drugs and alcohol. My heroin addiction then really started to increase, and life started to get really bad. But again, I can stop for a day here or there, and I can clean up real nice, and I can get my act together, and I can present myself well enough to impress people to give me another chance or give me another job. And I'm kind of in the story of my life, and again, I pissed it away quickly. I was fortunate up there to have a friend that was my boss that had been through the program, and he did a lot to keep me employed, and I'm grateful for that. I eventually did leave there, and I came back down to Seattle, where I'm from, and my addiction, went to a completely different place. Before I was taking some mushrooms and smoking a little bit of pot and smoking some heroin and taking some pills and smoking a little bit of meth and all of these fun things. And then I found out that I could shoot drugs up. I found out that I could put stuff in a needle and inject it into my body. During all of this, I met a girl, and we had a child. In the middle of a very bad part in my addiction, I was responsible for bringing this child into the world. And I cared for her for about 9 months to a year of her life. And the entire time, every time she was in my possession inside of my apartment, I was smoking crack or sticking a needle in my arm until her mother had enough of that. The law had enough of that. I had enough of that. And that was the last time that I saw her. She was just a baby. I had no place in her life. I assure you, it was probably for the better, and that's a difficult thing to say, but I was in a really bad place. For 16 years, I've thought about her every day, but I haven't done anything fatherly or parental at all. I pay child support when they take my paycheck, or when I have a job long enough where I'm able to afford it. It's a rough thing to feel. I love my daughter very much, but I don't really have the right to feel that. And that's a rough place to be. During those 16 years of her life, I did many things. I was no longer welcome in my mom's home. From time to time, I would come back and see my family. They know I was an addict. My mom would let me sleep on her porch while my dog was able to sleep inside the house. And at the time, I was thinking, fuck you, but it's got to be difficult for a parent, especially my mother, the enabler, that would do anything for me, to make their son sleep on the porch. It was their only option. And that had to be rough, a difficult decision for a parent to have to make. But that wasn't enough. I'm a fucking junkie, yeah. From there, I would travel anywhere I could sleep. I lived in the back of a U-Haul at a U-Haul center for a long time. And I would break in the middle of the night and open up the back of the U-Haul, and I had a whole bedroll I would roll out and to where I'd go shoot my dope. It was a nice warm place. There was no wind. It was all mine. Nobody would come bother me until the morning when I had to be out. And to fund my life, I would have to break into mom's house when she wasn't there and steal her DVD and jewelry and things like that. When she had nothing left to steal, I would start going into Walmart and just filling up a grocery cart full of whatever I wanted. Just walk right out the fucking door. Anything my dealer wanted, I would put in a shopping cart and I would just go get it for him. And eventually one day, Walmart had enough of that. So did my dealer. He had enough stuff. So I started doing the same thing at Home Depot and other stores. Whatever I wanted, I would go in and just take until Home Depot had enough of that. To this day, I don't believe I'm allowed on Home Depot or Walmart property, and I get that. But I still go. Hopefully their cameras aren't as good as they say they are. But even even that, getting arrested and put in jail for petty theft and being homeless on the street, it wasn't enough. You know, I'm a fucking junkie. It's never enough. You know, so I would go hitchhiking around and trying to sell whatever drugs I wasn't doing to make enough money to buy more drugs, and I ran into another fellow drug addict traveler, and we went and hiked up this mountain for some reason, and we found an abandoned school bus. And the story was I had bought 20 acres of property up in the mountains, and it was amazing, man. We were slamming dope, and we had this, we called it a cabin, but it was a hollowed out school bus. And we were building a grow shop. We had like some sticks laid up against each other and a light bulb, and it was we thought it was amazing, man. We would go on these journeys where we would just hitchhike for days and collect shiny objects. We called them shinies. This is meth. Will really mess with your mind. To us, this made sense. Well, one day I didn't go with him, and I decided to stay home, and it was about 20 below, and we had a bathtub outside, and I built a fire underneath it, and I had this outdoor hot tub, and it was incredible. And I stepped in it, and I burned the bottom of my feet incredibly bad. So much that the next morning I couldn't get out of the school bus house that we had built. And I couldn't put wood in the fire or any of these things. And so I was literally freezing with my feet just burnt to all hell. But I had some dirty rigs and a whole lot of meth and a couple of bottles of water. The water was freezing. I'd been in there for days. So I would warm up what I could against my body enough to draw some water in a needle and slam some dope. And I did this for about a week or two until you know, he came back and just found me a mess, a complete mess. Eventually the owner of this property showed up as well, and we realized that we were trespassing. We didn't buy this property, and that didn't go well. But you know, I'm a junkie, and I had other places to go be homeless. So I actually went down the street, and I found an abandoned baseball field, and I lived in the baseball dugout. It still had power and all these things, and I could plug in my radio, and I lived in this dugout for about a year. And I defended it from other homeless people like it was my home, and that's where my mind was at. This was my spot, you know. And how dare you? You know, eventually that baseball dugout, you know, got officially closed down by the city, and I was reminded again that I did not own that property, and I had to go off somewhere else. The next decision that I made went for about the next 5 years of my life. I was no longer allowed to go into a Home Depot or a Walmart, and all those scams that I had done, I had burnt out. My father would no longer answer my phone calls, and for good reason. My mother was tired of helping me out. But I was a junkie and I needed dope. So I would go to a bigger city. I would answer ads on Craigslist for older gentlemen seeking companionship. You know, I would get a warm place to stay and some dope in exchange for incomprehensible demoralization. And I can't take any of that back. I took everything from my family, from my grandparents to my sister. I cleaned out their bank accounts and I destroyed their trust. Part of me believes that they will forgive me in time for those things. But I cannot forgive me for the things I've done to myself. It's very selfish, but it hurts me a lot to know that I did those things for money. It hurt me so much that dope wasn't working anymore. And I took the next step, and I attempted to take my life multiple times. And I had a run of mental health institutions and jail visits and hospital visits. And, I had to put the family through that. And it's got to be rough knowing that your children or your son's in a place like that and not knowing why. And I needed dope. And the decisions that I made to get dope, the things that I did to get dope, there was no limit. There was nothing stopping me. It didn't matter what the decision was. 5 years I did this, answering Craigslist ads until I started posting them, and it became a source of income. One day I was with someone in a hotel room doing this thing, and a commercial came on TV, and it was for a treatment center. Do you or a loved one have a problem with drugs and alcohol? And of course I did, and I was really high, and I made a phone call that would change my life. I came to Sovereign Health the next day, and I went through an inpatient program for 65 days, and I lived at a house called Cerritos, a house in downtown Palm Springs, where I just got to eat and go to group and go to AA meetings and all of those things, and mostly just detox off of a 26-year run of meth and heroin. I was required to go to an IOP program after that, and I did immediately. I went to a place called Ken Seeley Communities, and I was fortunate that I made a decision to go there. I had many options, and I didn't know Ken at the time. I didn't know much about anything at the time. I was my mind was still wet. But I made a decision to go there. And for 7 months, this gentleman made me come in and take 6 hours of IOP classes, 5 days a week. And to pay for my bed, I was required to clean his office, wash his window. About 5 months through that, I had some kind of resentment about taking out the man's garbage and about him keeping me in his program so long because, hey, man, I had a couple of months clean and sober. I was fantastic. And so I thought. After 2 months of inpatient, 7 months at Ken Seeley Communities in an IOP program and sober living, that man offered me a job where I worked up until just recently. A job where I was able to give back the things that were so freely given to me. I was shown a better way of life. And when I came into the program, I was asked to find someone that had something that you wanted. And this gentleman had something that I wanted. He had the ability to help people change their life. And that's what I wanted. I owe him more than I could ever repay for keeping me in his program as long as he did, for making me take out his garbage and vacuum his floor and clean his office for as long as he did. After I left, I had made a decision that I was going to go out and I was going to do anything that I could to help people better their lives. I had found something that I was good at. I'm a junkie, and I'm good at doing junkie stuff. And I found that in this program that there was a lot of people like me and a lot of people that needed help. So I started a website called Chasing Recovery. And that website was it's poorly built. And its direction is a little bit messed up, but it was a start to something. That website actually did well. I get phone calls all the time about people looking for sober living and treatment options, and I am able to guide them to places that I know and trust. Shortly after leaving, I was looking for a place of my own to rent and open my own sober living and start helping people better themselves. And again, Ken offered me his home. That house I lived in when I came out here to get clean and sober was called Cerritos, and it was a Sovereign Health House, my inpatient program. Today I operate my own sober living out of that house, the house that I'm in right now. Because of guys like Ken and other members of Alcoholics Anonymous that came forward with the money for me to do this, I'm able to do it. I am a professional house manager. Ever since I got clean and sober, that's all I've been and that's all I've wanted to be. And anybody that does this for a living knows that we don't make any money. So, you've got to be wondering where the money came from. Alcoholics Anonymous and the Fellowship of AA and Ken Seeley giving me an opportunity to do this out of his house made this possible. And it's a testament to the power of AA, CANA, whatever anonymous program it is that you want to go to. Other members helping other members help other members. And that's what we do. And again, this is the second gift that Ken has given me that I don't know if I can thank him enough or ever repay him for the things that he's done. I hear a lot of people in the program, a lot of people at anonymous fellowships say that they are grateful, recovered alcoholics. I am not. I am a grateful, recovering alcoholic. Every day, every week and every month, I have to chase my recovery. I don't ever want to lose sight of my recovery, and I sure as hell don't want to convince myself that I've caught up to it. I am going to be a recovering addict alcoholic for the rest of my life. And I'm okay with that. You know, I've accepted that. You know, I have done enough bad things. I deserve to be in a much worse place. And I get these opportunities today to do things like this video, or another one next week. I get the opportunity to go to a meeting of Alcoholics Anonymous. I get the opportunity to go be of service, to make coffee at a meeting. I get the opportunity to be open and honest with other members of the Anonymous Fellowship. You know, I get to do these things. I could be in jail. I definitely deserve it, and I could be dead, and I absolutely have pushed the limits of my drug use to try to find dead. So I deserve to be there as well. Gratitude is a huge part of my story. After about a year of being in the program, I was all happy to be clean and sober, man. I was like pushing the program. I was all just, I was a different guy, man. I was doing great things with my life, and that eventually faded away, and gratitude took over. You know, the definition of gratitude is a readiness to give and to return kindness. It's an action word. Every day, I can't forget how I got here. I came in here penniless and am still penniless, but I get to do all these things. Every day I wake up and I remember where I was 22 months ago. And I don't want to go back. But it's not enough. In the back of my mind, I still want to go get loaded. In the back of my mind, I believe I could go have a drink right now. I'd be good. But I also know that I'm an idiot, and I don't listen to me. They tell you that this is a simple program, and I'll end with that. They tell you this is a simple program, and it's not. In my opinion, if it's simple, you're doing it wrong. This is the most difficult thing I've ever had to do in my life, and it's going to continue when I'm done with this video. I struggle to stay clean and sober every 5 seconds. I want to go get high. I want to go get loaded. I think I'm better. I think I got this. And that's my mind tricking me. You know, my name is Timmy. I'm an addict alcoholic. I hope you guys got something out of my share. You know, and it's been a real pleasure. Thank you.